friends, Andy C. Luda here. Come on in the room, come on in the room. Listen, if you are looking at me, that means that you have successfully registered for this webinar on leadership. I have some very exciting people to share with you, and I want to say to you that over the next several minutes, perhaps even hour, this information is literally going to change your life. It's going to be so transformative, and I'm so delighted that you've taken the time to register and have given us an opportunity to pour into you, to speak into your lives in a most positive kind of way. Now, I don't want to assume that everybody who is watching this particular webinar, because we do a series of webinars, and so many of you may be repeat viewers, but some of you may be watching us for the very first time. So give me just a quick moment to introduce not only myself, but those who are sharing with us as well. So I am Andy C. Luda. I am a native New Yorker, born right here in New York, Long Island, graduated in 1972 from Long Island Lutheran High School. And from there, I went to Oberlin College from 1972 to 1976, acquired a bachelor's degree, went on to acquire a master's degree from Harvard University. And then I did take a terminal doctoral degree in 1995 in Dayton, Ohio. I've had a number of years in this particular area of mentoring and coaching, and I'm delighted that you've joined us today. Let me move now to Rosalind Luda Aaron and have her quickly introduce herself to you as well.
Greetings and welcome. We are so delighted that you have taken this opportunity. Let us congratulate you on taking this opportunity to intentionally move your life forward. My name is Rosalind Luda Aaron, and I am a graduate of Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. I also attended Hofstra University, the University of Phoenix as well. I am a licensed and certified John Maxwell motivational speaker, leadership trainer, and personal and professional coach. I am so looking forward to working with you. One of the things that I am most passionate about is facilitating success in leadership mastermind study groups. I often say that I'm an apple now. I was born in Apple. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm a peach now because I'm in Georgia. My husband was born in Macon, Georgia, but he grew up in Cleveland, so I picked up a Buckeye along the way. I've been married to a jewel of a man for 41 years, and God has blessed our union with 6 wonderful children and 13 beautiful grandchildren.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Rosalind. And listen, the third member of our team is Tanya Luda Gordon. And if you've not figured out by now, we all share the same name. This is actually a brother-sister team. And this enterprise and this project is being done by those of us who share a common bond, and that bond is family. Tanya, would you take a quick moment to say hello to our audience and then tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited and delighted about this collaborative effort where we are coming to you to be able to enrich your lives, because we know there is a mandate on our life to make you more fulfilled so you can have an abundant life. So I am from New York. I am a graduate of Spelman College. My area of specialty deals with the area of business, to be able to help people to be able to learn how to use success tools to build wealth, and to also to have a enormously successful and fulfilled life. I have been fortunate enough to do the largest economic development conference that brings together certified companies, women, minority, and veteran-owned firms that are looking to engage with buyers from governmental agencies to Fortune 500 corporations, major corporations, and nonprofits. I've been excited about doing that. And with that platform, it has afforded me the opportunity to be able to have an impact with people in the business sector. And that has been wonderful. We normally have about approximately 1,000 attendees, and it has been a wonderful experience, and it has positioned me for really the tools to be able to share with you. I am married to Elder Carolyn Gordon, and we reside in beautiful Long Island, New York.
Thank you so very, very much. So there, friends, there you have it. That's the team of Luter Life Coaches, and we're dedicated to the proposition of helping to make your life better. Now, in pursuit of that objective, today we're talking to you about leadership, and we're going to spend the next several minutes having an involved, engaging discussion about leadership. This is a power-packed, content-driven webinar. And while we will mention those items that we have available toward the close of our presentation today, what we want you to be assured of is that our objective is not to sell anything per se, but to give you life lesson tools that can positively impact your life. And on today, we are particularly focusing our attention upon leadership. So I want to go back to Tanya Luter Gordon and have her become the lead in this conversation, because before we talk about what leadership is, I think we need to talk about what leadership is not. So Tanya, can you open up this webinar and this discussion that we're having by detailing what leadership is not?
Absolutely. Leadership is not a title, it is not a position, nor is it power or stature. Oftentimes people think that's what it is, but as we delve more into this subject matter, we are going to be able to share with you actually what it is and how you can utilize these tools to be more effective in this space.
Yes, yes, yes. And Rosalind, since we're talking about what leadership is not, we're beginning this conversation with the converse of what we're discussing. We're certainly going to spend a great deal of time discussing what leadership is, but we want to preface our commentary with what leadership is not. So can you expand upon what Tanya has already established in terms of what leadership is not?
I would absolutely be delighted to. And permit me to be brief, because it is three simple words, if I may say. Leadership is not about you. Leadership is not about you. And I'm going to leave that there, because we're going to expound a little more. It's difficult to say what it is not, and Tanya has excellently pointed out what leadership is not. And then we're going to get into what it is, but let me share that the take-home message is that leadership is not about you.
All right, and I don't think that we can emphasize that enough. Leadership is not about you. Now that we've just touched ever so briefly on what leadership is not, let's focus our attention on the main objective of our coming together and why we're here and how it is we're trying to impact your life. And we begin here, and Tanya, we're coming to you to discuss more specifically now what leadership is. We talked about what it is not ever so briefly, but now let's really drill down on this topic and talk about what leadership is.
Leadership is impact, the influence you have on the people that you lead. And so it is very, very important that you focus your attention on being able to get the results that you need by effectively being able to incorporate in your leadership skills impact. And that is the essence of really what a leader is, one who has impact on those that they lead.
Okay, one who has impact upon other people's lives. Now, Rosalind, Tanya has created a foundation. Build upon that foundation just a little bit more in terms of what leadership is.
Excellent. Tanya has done a wonderful job. One of the things that I would add is that it is a positive impact on individuals, because leadership is positive impact. It's nothing more and it is nothing less. What I will say is that leadership, like Tanya said, it's not a position. It is not a title. Leadership is bringing value, friends, to everyone upon whose path you cross. The take-home message is that in the process of making others know that they have value and they have worth, you are nailing the very principle of what leadership is. It's about bringing value to everyone upon whose path you cross.
Value and positive impact. And I'm going to quickly get back to that, especially positive impact. But before I do, both of you have laid out a variety of perceptions as it relates to leadership. So Tanya, let me come back to you and let's discuss what some of those perceptions are. Some good, some bad, some true, some false. We have some flexibility in this particular area of our discussion, but let's tag this portion of our discussion by categorizing it as perceptions of leadership. Tanya, can you walk us through some specific perceptions that are inextricably tied to leadership?
Absolutely. Again, when we look at this subject matter, there are 5 areas of perception that people have. Some accurate, some are fallacies. And so as we delve into this, I'm going to deal with a different subject matter. One, let's start off with the management perception. So that basically in that area, you're looking at a lot of people that think managing and leading are one and the same. But that is not true oftentimes, because when you are managing someone, they oftentimes feel that you give them instructions and they are to follow that. Whereas with leadership, they have an opportunity to buy in, to be able to share their thoughts, their concerns, and can be a part of the process. And that is the difference between the two. So they are oftentimes not the same. Also, if you are a great manager, then people will follow your direction. Well, that's what we think. That's a perception. But that is not always accurate. You have to be able to demonstrate the necessary tools in order to get people to effectively follow you. And then, of course, mastering how to influence people. Well, mastering how to influence people, we know, is consistent with what we've been talking about, bringing impact, bringing value to those that you lead. That is not always necessarily consistent with management, but it is certainly relevant to being an effective leader. Now let's talk about the entrepreneur perception. When we think about entrepreneurs, we think about people that see opportunities and go after them. Either they create a better mousetrap, or they find a product or a service that doesn't exist and they make that available to the public. And so, but oftentimes entrepreneurs might not necessarily be effective leaders, but that's okay, because you can learn that skill set. You know, there was a movie that came out a few years ago called The Devil Wears Prada, and the star was Meryl Streep. And she certainly needed people skills, because everyone that worked for her operated in a spirit and of fear. Of course, that is not effective leadership, nor would I say is that good when it comes to management. But this is who she was. She was an entrepreneur. So she did not learn that skill set. But for what we are trying to do is to make you effective so that you don't operate that way. Also, I have a power thought for you under that subject matter. And that's, if you dropped your title, how will you still have impact on the people that you lead? And if you constantly keep that in the forefront of your mind, you will be successful in this aspect of where you are in your life, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally, because those are the tool sets that you know that you need in order to be impactful. So then, of course, we still have a few more. We have the knowledge perception, knowing what to do and impacting others to do it. Now, that might be more similar to management, right? I know what to do. I'm telling you what to do. But again, like we're sharing with you, with effective leadership, we want it to, if it's possible, to have a collaborative type environment where people can share their thoughts and their ideas, because the more input you get from people when you are in a leadership position, the more impactful you can be and the more successful you can be when you are implementing different processes and as part of your business model. Then, of course, we have the pioneer perception. I use as an example, have you ever been in a situation where someone was following you to a particular destination in a car? You are so consumed with getting to your destination that you tend to forget to look at your rearview mirror to make sure the person is following you. This is an excellent example of what you don't want to do with not being mindful, constantly looking at your rearview mirror to make sure that people are following you. Because if you get to the destination and you don't have that person with you, you've defeated the whole purpose. So that is the best example I can give you for that. Then, of course, we have the perception of position. And there are people that feel just because they have a position, you're going to follow them, only to find out that if you're not effective as a leader, that people might not follow and support you the way they would if you implemented that concept and how you deal with people, as opposed to just automatically thinking, well, I'm the manager, I'm the boss, and people are going to just follow me. Some will, but you want to be able to be impactful to all of the people you're leading. And so it is very, very important that you keep that in mind with that, with the tool sets that I just shared with you.
Yes. Rosalind, us a plethora of ideas. And I want to move to you, Rosalind, to discuss and to expand upon these various items that have been shared with us already.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And if you will permit me to revisit what I indicated in terms of the bringing of value, and Tanya certainly mentioned it a number of times as it relates to a team. One of the common threads that goes through those 7 areas that Tanya indicated has to do with individuality. The manager is an individual, the entrepreneur, and as the list went on, right down to being in the position of management or the position of being a leader. It is so very important that that common thread is centered around that individual. Leaders, and I'll say this again, understand fully that because leadership is not about them, it is about them making available the opportunity that those they work with can bring to the table their strengths, their gifts, and their talents. To just briefly talk about the management skill, Tanya covered it so eloquently and so masterfully, I really don't have to revisit that. But I do want to drive home the message that individuality has very little to do with leadership, because there are 2 types of leadership. We're either leading followers. When we lead followers, that is going to make us a better leader. The other thing is we're going to also develop leaders. When we develop leaders, then our leadership never stops, because guess what they're going to do? They are going to do the like. They are also going to develop other leaders. And that is what it's really all about.
Yes. Now listen, friends, we're taking time to give you these insights to illuminate a variety of things that we know are going to positively impact your life. I want to encourage you to remain with us until the end. There are some offers and items that we want to share with you that will move beyond this conversation that we're having. I know that you are enjoying it as much as we are enjoying bringing it to you, but this is only the surface. This is only the upper layer. There is so much that we have to share with you, and I'm hoping that you will be encouraged as you listen to this conversation and as you take in and lean in to the information that we're sharing with you, that you will be encouraged to take advantage of some of the other offerings that we have in this area. Tanya, Luda Gordon, and Rosalind Luda Aaron are sharing with us in this particular area of leadership, and I'm anxious to continue this conversation. So, Tanya, let me come back to you. Can you share some important questions that are involved that will position a person for positive impact as a leader?
Absolutely. So there are 7 areas that I want to talk to you about how to really be an effective leader when you're dealing with positive impact. 1, your character. Who are you? It is very important that the people you lead feel that you are honest, that you're ethical, you tell the truth, and that you have integrity. We live in a time now where people question leadership, whether it's our political leaders, leaders in our social lives. And in order to get buy-in, and I always use that word because in order to be an effective leader, you have to have the buy-in of the people you're leading. So if they feel that you are one that is trustworthy, that is paramount for them to follow you. Next, we talk about relationships. It's very important that your centers of influence are people that are positive. We talk about dream stealers, and sometimes dream stealers don't even know they are, but because they have convinced themselves that they are going to limit themselves, it's hard for them to embrace and support you and your dreams. So in order to move forward in success, I tell people, make sure you have positive people, role models. Look for people that are where you want to go, because you would be surprised how many people would be more than happy to share time with you to help you be successful. And so this is something that you want to keep in mind. Knowledge. You want to be able to expand your horizons. Read books. I'm at a place now, I just lean in. I can't read enough. I can't go to enough seminars because I want to grow. I've given myself a very, very aggressive goal for the next 3 to 5 years that I know I'm going to meet. But it helps me when I am taking advantage of opportunities. And Google is phenomenal. YouTube is phenomenal tools for you to be able to stay focused and driven for what your goals and objectives are. So what do you know? Next, intuition. What do you feel? It is very, very important that you become in tune with what you are feeling in the day-to-day of your life, because that is going to have an impact on how you lead. You have to find a space, a place for you to be positive so you can pass that on to the people that you're leading. And then let's talk about experience. Where have you been? You have to be able to look at what you've done in the past in order to build on it. And let me just share this with you quickly. During the conference and the experience I've learned with the people I work with is how to get them committed beyond just the 9 to 5. This is important. In my conference, oftentimes the night before, we're all burning the midnight oil, but we have to be at that conference at like 7 a.m. I have been able to create such a relationship with my team that they are willing to stay with me until the job is done the night before, and they're there early the next day. This only happens when people buy into the vision. They support what you're doing. And that is about relationship building. Past successes. What have you done? So you have to be able to monitor your success, track it so you can utilize that tool in the future. And finally, ability. What can you do? Can I be a good coach? Now, there's some people that think, well, that's not really my sweet spot. That's not my strength. But if that is a desire of yours, whether it's train the trainer, whether you want to do workshops and seminars, whether you want to do masterminds, whatever it is that you want to do, I'm using that as an example, you can effectively do if you're willing to learn the tools, the effective tools for leadership.
Thank you so much. And Rosalind, we're coming to you, and Tanya has created this 7-legged table that we're standing upon. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to ask both of you about some personal experiences. But before I ask you about those personal experiences, Rosalind, can you take the 7 items that Tanya has shared and again has established a foundation for our conversation and expand upon those 7 things and enlighten those who are sharing with us today in this particular area of positive impact?
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Tanya has done a phenomenal job drilling down on these respective areas. She started out with the integrity that is needed. Here again, when you have integrity, people know, people are aware. I like to say that people can see through when an individual is not being genuine. There's a way of knowing that. Here again, because I work with young people often, I often say you can you can fool a fool, but you can't hit a kid. There's an instinct that is a part of their innocence that lets them know whether you're really on their side or not. She talked about relationships. We are a product of the individuals that we allow in our orbit, in our space, and in our surroundings, because it impacts us in a way that can dictate decisions that we make, particularly going forward. She talked about getting more information, workshops, seminars, mastermind study groups, things of that nature. We can't do what we don't know. We cannot correct what we don't know is wrong. So the more information we have, the more we have to work with in terms of seeking to move forward. Intuition is a very interesting area. And when it comes to intuition, that's one of those things that some people may feel that they're not as capable, should I say, in those areas. And that's probably because they're not fully understanding what intuition is. Everyone has intuition. Men have intuition, women have intuition. They are in varying degrees. It's one of the aspects of leadership that is harder to teach, harder to actually master. But the more you're around individuals who exercise it more freely, then the better you become at it. One of the other things that Tanya mentioned was experience. This is huge. As I think back over my life, one of the things that is crystal clear to me is that there were times when I exercised leadership and I did not even know about that. And I'll probably have an opportunity to expound upon that when Tanya and myself have our personal stories, and as well as past success and ability. Because I often say this, when not just talking to young people, but people in general, knowledge and ability, these are some great things, and they may very well get you through the door. But soft skills, things like a good morning, a smile, a thank you, you're welcome, will get you in the room and sometimes get you a seat at the table. So when we bring all of these things together, These are indicators that we have embraced and we are exercising positive impact on those who are around us because we set an example by what it is we do.
Thank you, Rosalind. Now, listen, friends, I will confess to you that up until this point, our conversation has been primarily academic, perhaps even theoretical. And you perhaps feel like you have been in the classroom and you've been sitting under an instructor or a professor or a faculty member. But these experiences are real. And so, Tanya, let me come back to you because I want to round out this discussion and I want to reassure the attendee that this is not just an academic exercise. This is not our scholarship on display, but there are real life situations and experiences that both of you have had that inform exactly what it is that you're saying. So let me come to you, Tanya, first, and let me ask you, and this is a bit on a personal note, and it's a twofold question. What experiences have you had and how have you learned from those experiences in order to effectively lead others?
That is a great question. So let's deal with this from the perspective of challenges that I have experienced and that I've learned from. So when I was in my 20s, I was afforded the opportunity to be a manager, a sales manager for a major insurance company. I had a very diverse and eclectic group of sales agents in the Queens area. But for this particular response to the question, I want to deal with a group that shared a sales location of older gentlemen who never had a woman of color and my age to ever manage them. This was an apparent challenge that they had. They were already very, very successful in their own rights. Financially, had been with the company for well over probably 15 to 20 years. And they were the age of my dad, our father. So they were about 59 years old. And here there's this young whippersnapper coming in to manage them that was in her 20s, the age of their children. So again, this was the apparent challenge that they had. But as an effective leader, it was my responsibility to find how I could effectively connect with them, not theirs. Not to take a position, oh, woe me, because guess what? This was a rough group anyway. So all of the previous managers they had challenges with them. But because they had challenges with them, that did not necessarily have to be my story. I needed a success. I needed a win. So I had to figure out how to navigate through this experience or these challenges. So the light bulb went off. And as I was thinking about it, I said to myself, what type of manager could effectively lead my dad that was 32 years his junior? And as I began to think about that, it came to me. I went in the office and I set them down and I said, gentlemen, I am so excited about the opportunity that has been given to me to manage you. All of you are so successful in your own right. And I want to commend you. I want to congratulate you on how successful you've been, but I want to tell you I respect you and I admire your accomplishments. That was it. They fell in love with me. So all of the other issues that they had, age, I'm a woman, and I'm an African American, went to the wayside. Now, they might have still had their own issues that they had to deal with in general with that, with maybe other people, but because of the way I positioned myself with them, they fell in love with me. And they were an outstanding group. And that's why every year they call it key manager. I was awarded the top position as manager because it was my responsibility to find how I can connect successfully with leadership, with everybody that I'm responsible for in managing them, so that at the end of the day, we're all successful. So I share that with you, and I learned a valuable lesson in that, because I think what we have to do is be willing to go beyond our comfort zone. Don't make excuses, because it's so easy to do that. But if you are an effective leader, you will figure out the landscape of what you're dealing with. And then it is your job to be able to make it successful so everyone is able to have abundance in their life when they're dealing with you.
Tanya, that is an amazing story. Rosalind, let me come to you. Likewise, I am sure, and again, because I don't want this to be simply an academic exercise, and I want those who are sharing with us and who are participating in this webinar to have some real life stories that they can attach the theories and the hypotheses that we are espousing to the situations that they find themselves in. Is there a similar kind of experience that you've had during your lifetime that can showcase and demonstrate the very same kind of items that we're talking about, Rosalind?
Absolutely. I am delighted to be able to share, and I thought of numerous stories, but when we speak of challenges, I'm going to use that as my foundation. I often say to young people and individuals that I interact with that 100 years ago, they didn't know anything about ADHD. I was loaded with it. I probably have a little touch of it still now, but I do have systems that I use in order to be able to expedite the things that need to be expedited. When I was a freshman in college, I learned that because of that, there were some classes that I needed to take in order to come up to specifications. Now, those classes, while everyone else was taking 12 and 15 hours, I was taking 18 and 21 hours. So here is the challenge. I was sheltered. I was pretty much afraid my freshman year. I'd never been away from home for that period of time. However, on a goof, I had been asked to come down and to somewhat kind of audition for a singing group. Well, I got the part in the singing group, and for the next 3 years, we would tour the Eastern Seaboard from Florida all the way to New York. We would play the Atlanta Civic Center, and my fondest memory was Madison Square Garden. I'm sharing this. I was a background singer for a rhythm and blues artist who had a #1 hit. The challenge was dealing with that high load that I was carrying in school, as well as going every weekend, pardon me, going every weekend to sing at these venues up and down the Eastern Seaboard. The take-home message is this: as always, nothing you do will be wasted. And although I did not see coming, I didn't see it coming, singing in front of 30,000 people in these large arenas. I did not see this coming. And I want to connect this with something, with an acronym that I have, and that is FOCUS. The challenge was the ADHD. The focus was the answer to the ADHD. Follow one course until successful. And as I often share with young people, follow one course at a time, because the very first textbook ever used in our schools assure us that our gifts will make room for us and bring us before great men. So the challenge was to be disciplined, to be able to be focused. The overcoming came through the process of that acronym of FOCUS, FOCUS. Follow one course at a time until successful.
I think this is wonderful. And I want to kind of stay here as it relates to personal experiences, because I think these personal experiences really resonate with those of you who are sharing with us in this webinar and taking in this information that we are so anxious to share with you. So I want to go back to you, Tanya, and I want to talk about your track record. And I want to talk about how you have extended yourself, what risks you have taken, and how those risks have contributed to you being successful? So we're still talking about personal experiences. Can you give us another one that demonstrates your risk taking and how that taking a risk proved to be successful?
The best example I can use is when I embarked upon doing the Long Island Community and Economic Development Conference. I had an awesome vision. I saw 1,000 people coming together in my vision. The first year we did it, we had 500 people, which was unprecedented. It was just remarkable. But let's go to why I did it. I used to go to upstate New York. I used to go into Manhattan, but there was nothing like this in the Long Island region. As we talk about entrepreneurs, they see opportunities and they seize them. But this was never done by an entrepreneur. These type of events are normally underwritten and done by governmental agencies or third-party organizations, which that's part of their mission. And I remember coming home after going into the city. I was exhausted, and I just said, oh, I just wish there was something like this in Long Island. And my husband said, well, maybe it's for you to do it. And I'm thinking, for me to do it? But that was a risk because, again, it had not been done. I had not positioned myself. I had relationships, but I had never done anything like that before. And it was not customary at all for a business owner to do a type of an event that was going to impact positively other business owners. Well, I stepped out on faith. And when I first started doing it, I got no response. Because remember, this is not something customary for an entrepreneur to do. This was in 2012, and we had an enormous storm, which delayed us from being able to do it. But guess what? It was a blessing for me in that it gave me more time to build. So that by the time we did it in 2013, we launched it. It was just phenomenal. I mean, we had the top political officials that came, standing room only. And I remember one of the governmental officials saying, how did you do this? How did you get all these people there? It was sheer will, hard work, dedication, but the risk, I couldn't allow the fear of the risk. And that is what happens to us oftentimes. We will allow fear to hold us captive. And instead of being able to move beyond that fear, to be able to think outside the box, to be able to expand ourselves, we want to stay in our comfort zone. But guess what? In order to have success, in order to have abundance in your life, whether it's personally or professionally, you have to be willing to lean in, take a chance. And fortunately, we did. And I am happy to say that we have been able to have a positive impact on so many businesses by them coming to our event, all because we were willing to take a chance, not hold ourselves prisoner to fear of a risk, and we were able to have a great reward and help so many other businesses in this place.
Rosalind, quickly, and again, we're in the area of dealing with life stories. And so talk to us about an area where you took a risk and where that risk taking was the conduit and the bridge to your success.
Thank you so much. Okay. One of the risks that I can bring to my memory was when I left a comfort zone. Tanya, I'm glad that you mentioned comfort zone and how a comfort zone can almost paralyze one if you're not prepared to think outside of the box and move beyond where you are. Decades ago, I had been working in the family business of travel, and then our family moved. The family dynamic changed, and we moved further out on Long Island. At that point, it became travel prohibitive to really go quite that far. So I accepted a job at a Japanese travel agency. I had been working at the family travel agency for decades. But now the family had moved further out, and I had to make a decision. And actually, it was my husband that found this opportunity at a Japanese travel agency in Northport, Long Island, New York. And I went and I applied for the job, and I got the job. But I was in a totally out of water of what it was that I was familiar with. Now, it turned out that the reason they hired me was because of my experience in group travel. So I was put in charge of this. That was the very first assignment I had. I was put in charge of a group for about 54 individuals, and they were not traveling as a group, but there were 54 reservations that needed to be done. It was the airline and the hotel and ground transportation. And I'd done all of these reservations and had them done by the time the boss came in. Well, when the boss came in, she brought to my attention that there had been an error. Well, I shared with her that one thing that she would learn about me is that I am very uncomfortable giving explanations as to why an error was made. I believe in owning it and assuring that that particular mistake will never be made again. I corrected the error and I shared with her what my position was, and there was silence. There was no response. At the time, I was making a certain amount, and by the end of the week, I was called into her office, and she said to me, "Rosalind, I love your position. I love how you owned what it was that happened." That was a risk, because I know that there's a three-part process when errors are made. The first one is to try to correct it before anyone notices that an error has been made. The second thing is to assign blame to someone else. It wasn't me, it wasn't me. And then the third one, which really should be the first one, is just own it so that you can correct it and so that you can move forward. I was taken home, this was my first week, and I had done the math with my deductions and all, and I would be taking home $350 a week. After that conference, my take home was $500 a week. Honesty, integrity, building relationships, knowledge, owning, and being an example is priceless, is priceless. And those are some of the tenets of leadership.
All righty. Well, listen, friends, I know that we're taking a good deal of your time, but I am hoping that you are able to extract and glean from this conversation the very things that you need, the circumstances that you find yourself in, the situations that you find yourself in. I'm hoping that this webinar is speaking specifically to exactly where you are so that it is having a positive impact upon you. Now, since I'm talking about positive impact, when it comes to teaching others, the principles of positive impact that can highlight and illuminate leaders. Let me ask this question, and Tanya, I'm coming to you. As you teach leaders, whether they're followers or other leaders, in your experiences, what does a leader look like?
A leader is one who sees more, they see further, and they see before others. They are always very mindful of their surroundings and how change, whether it's technology, whether it's just their environment, will have an impact on those that they lead. So now a leader should take a position of leadership from a no leverage standpoint. Now, there are a lot of people that would beg to differ with that. But we're talking about effective leadership. You should not lead based on what's in it for me. What's the nickel in the dime? Now, that is a direct conflict, one would say, probably with how we look at how a business owner would be. But I'm assuring you that it's your mindset that is going to have an impact on how you lead people, so that if you lead them genuinely without really thinking about how it's going to impact your bottom line, I tell people, focus on the activity and the results will follow. So I suggest you do that. Also, expand yourself where you volunteer, where you belong to social and civic organizations. Expand yourself. Don't just become limited in one space because you want to be a well rounded individual. You want to have abundance from a holistic standpoint. So we encourage you to do that, to expand yourself that way. Be willing to give back. Teach your peers so they can be able to be successful in their own space. Just like you're going to look for role models to help you get where you want to go, be willing to do the same for others. So I have a guest lesson, a great lesson thought. And that is that remember that people will not go along with you if they cannot get along with you. So it's very, very important that you always position yourself to be able to get the most from the relationships that you have from the perspective of leadership.
All righty. Thank you so much, Tanya and Rosalind. I'm coming back to you because I am anxious, equally anxious to know from you, your perspective, your angle, your view, what does a leader look like, especially as it relates to a positive impact?
Yes, thank you so much. A leader looks like a positive example of caring for others. That's what a leader looks like. You will hear me throughout all of the things that we share, how important it is understanding that leadership is about others. What does a leader look like? A leader looks like a person that when they come into the room, they are approachable. They are a person that is knowledgeable, that is intuitive to what is going on around them. Leaders can identify, as Tanya shared, they see things before others see things. Many times, these leaders will see on a person's face just the need to say hello, just to be able to acknowledge them, to let them know that someone cares about that look that is on their face. Leaders are example setters. That's what leadership looks like.
Yes, that's what leadership looks like. Again, friends, I am so grateful, so thankful for the time that you've taken to spend with us today as we have talked about leadership. And we have tried to be as inclusive and as comprehensive as possible. I know it has taken a bit of your time and a few minutes of our time, and we don't mind sharing this time with you because of the positive impact we believe that it is going to have upon your life. Now, give me just a few more minutes, friends, just a few more minutes, because these last two items I think are as important and perhaps maybe the most important aspect of our conversation today. And Tanya, I'm coming back to you because here's the bottom line question that I want to ask for this section of our conversation. And that is, how do we add value to people? At the outset, both you and Rosalind said that a part of the definition of leadership is adding value to individuals. And so, as a leader, how can you intentionally add value to an individual? Tanya, we're in your hands.
Excellent. I think that we can have an impact both verbally and non-verbally. So non-verbally, as Rosalind said, being mindful, a smile can go a long way. You'd be surprised how many people go through a day with no one smiling at them and how that might resonate with them. Just being able to, from a verbal standpoint, as Rhonda said, give a greeting, have a word of encouragement, which is so important because, again, there are so many people that go through their lives where they get no positive reinforcement. So when you're an effective leader, that embodies who you are, so that when people are in your company, they're drawn to you. They want to be around you because you make them feel good. And so those are some of the very important elements of effective leadership that we're talking about that can bring value to people that you're leading.
All righty. Thank you, Tanya. And Rosalind, how do we intentionally add value to people? Same question, and your perspective on this very same question that we've raised and are discussing right now.
Very well. Permit me to go back to my young people. I often ask my youngsters in the schools, how many of you all have a younger sibling? And just about everybody raises their hand. And what I suggest to them, take them to the side. Give them about 7 to 8 minutes of your time. It will send their self-esteem through the roof. And the reason I say that is because this is not something I heard. I had a younger sister. I have a younger sister. So I totally understand. I totally get when they can get on that very last nerve. You come your shoes in, your clothes in, your makeup and everything that you have, only to learn later that they really want to be like you. So the time that you spend with your younger siblings, I said, will put a smile on your parents' face and give you a warm feeling in your belly, and it will raise your younger siblings' self-esteem through the roof. So that is just one example of a way, because words have power. And when we think of the things that we share with our young people, one of the things I say to them, the first thing that's going to go through their mind is they're going to say, oh, they don't hate me. Because so many times that's what they think. But here again, that is one example of how we can, in the process of bringing value to others, we are indeed leaders and making a difference in those individuals' lives.
Well, friends, this is taking up just about all of our time. We want to thank you for yours. But listen, I have just one other question for both you, Tanya, and Rosalind, that I want to raise before we close what has become lengthy minutes in the area of leadership. And those of you who have stuck with us throughout the duration of this webinar, I am certain that those things that have been shared by Rosalind and shared by Tanya have had a positive impact upon your life. Now, in the area of leadership, there are two types of individuals that we lead. One are those who are followers, and others are those who we are developing to become leaders themselves. And what we collectively, both Rosalind, Tanya, and myself, have come to the conclusion is that there are 3 questions that the people in these 2 categories are always raising. Let me begin with you, Tanya. What are those 3 questions from your perspective?
Well, the first question is, do you care for me? It is so important that the people that we lead genuinely feel that you are concerned about them, that you have compassion for what situations they might go through. Now, in a business situation, corporate America, major corporation, small business, when you're providing leadership, you cannot afford just to be limited and closed off and just focused on that. You have, because we're human beings. And in order to be effective as a leader, people have to feel you genuinely care about them. If something is going on in their life personally, whether they have an ill child, caring for an elderly parent, which we've dealt with that dynamic, which makes us sensitive to that. Anything that you can do to show that you genuinely care about that person as a human being will speak volumes to them, and they will forever be grateful to you. Because oftentimes people feel like, you'll say, well, how you doing? And a person will say, well, nobody cares anyway, so I might as well just say nothing or fine. But when you take that step and say, no, I am concerned about you. I care about you. Talk to me. What is it that that you're going through right now that I might be able to help you with? They will forever be grateful to you. And probably anything you do when it comes in the area of leadership, you got them. Also, the next thing is, can I help you? Oftentimes we will implement different processes and procedures, but I tell people all the time, I want to position you for success. As a leader, it is my responsibility to take the time and the effort to make sure that whatever assignment I'm giving you, that you totally understand what my expectations are, and I want to give you the tools for success. I am not going to be one that gives you an assignment. I know I haven't taken the time or energy and effort to provide you with the necessary information to succeed, but yet I'm going to have an expectation when I come back to you a week later and you haven't done what I've given you. Well, now I'm going to give you a hard time. Well, no, as a leader, it's my responsibility to take the time to make sure that that person is fully aware. I have to have good communicative skills to make sure that they know what I expect of them. And finally, they ask the question, can I trust you? If I come to you with a situation, whether it's personally and professionally, I need to know that I have you, that I am in your confidence, that is something that you will deal with and you will always respect me in the area of me being able to trust you.
And likewise, Anya, likewise, Rosalind, let me have you go over from your point of view those same 3 questions that people in those 2 categories will most definitely raise.
Absolutely. Tanya put it very, very well. And I would remind most of our viewers that they've heard this term before. People don't care how much you know. They just want to know how much you care. This is priceless. We can talk until we're blue in the face, but the only time we really connect is when we have listened incarnationally to what it is that may be troubling them or what the issue might be, and then we can respond in a way that can be helpful to them. So it is more about them knowing that we care, not trying to have all of the answers. The other thing is, and here again, I have to go to my experience in the education lane, because one of the observations that I've made, and it connects even to care. One of the observations I have made on the secondary level is an attitude, a mindset, a way of thinking that is indifferent. And indifferent, of course, is 3 simple words. I don't care. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you know. I don't care if you can help me. I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I just don't care. And one of the challenges with that, and I share this with young people all the time, is that when we don't care, that borders, it teeters, it sits right on the edge of something called disrespect, because you don't respect me if you don't care how I feel. You don't respect me if you don't care what I think, what I know, or if I can even help you. So I would say one of these days, you are going to begin to approach a season in your life wherein you are going to expect to begin to receive respect. But know this, you can never receive something that you have never duly given. So I admonish them to please begin to respect. And these are all relative, because can I trust you? Working with millennials, one of the things I've noticed is that they are very observing of the world around them. And their take is that it's far from perfect. It's not my fault. Where do I assign blame to why everything is so topsy-turvy and seemingly so out of sorts? Surely it's not my generation. I just got here. So they're looking to the baby boomers. They're looking to us to set an example for them, to own it, to not judge them, to inspire them, to encourage them, to let them know that we have their backs, so that we can, in essence, bridge that generation, build a generation bridge, so that they can be the leaders that we so desperately need them to be.
All right, friends, there you have it. Rosalind, Luda, Aaron, Tanya, Luda, Gordon, Andy C. Luda. We are collectively Luda Life Coaches. And listen, on the screen is our URL, the link to our website. And nothing would please us more than to have you visit that website to see some of the growing resources that we have begun to assemble and put together for your benefit in the area of life transformation. Now, I promise you that if you stayed with us to the end, that there was a particular offer that I wanted to share with you, and that is this. You have, for the last several minutes, been listening to the three of us collectively. But I want to share with you that both Rosalind Luda Aaron and Tanya Luda Gordon are willing to make themselves available to you as a personal coach and spend specific time with you, developing you, tutoring, coaching, helping you to become not only your full self, but your best self. So if you take a look at the URL and the website that we have, there is some contact information. If you reach out to us with your email address and let us know what areas that you are particularly interested in, we'll reach out to you and we'll make ourselves available. And nothing would please us more than to have the opportunity to partner with you, to walk with you, to take you to the upper plateaus of your potential and where you ought to be. Now, if you deal with young people in the area of personal life coaching, personal development, Rosalind Luda Aaron is available in that regard. She has an extensive background, as I'm sure you've heard today, in the area of education and in the area of young people. So if you work with young people, if you have a challenge with your young people, if you need advice and counsel in the area of young people or personal development, or putting aside those impediments and obstacles that stand in the way of your success, please reach out to us so that we can link and tie you to Rosalind Luda Aaron, who can help you in that regard. Listen, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in a business setting, if you're in a corporate setting, Tanya Luda Gordon has been there. She has the accumulated experiences. She's been down that road, and so much of what you're going through, she has already gone through. I am encouraging you to take advantage of her experiences, her expertise, and let her help you, again, fulfill yourself and be the best person that you can be. Again, both of these persons are available to you as a mastermind coach, as a tutor, as a person who will help push you again to your best self. And if you're interested in becoming a coach yourself, my particular area is the development of coaches. And so again, I invite you to contact us at our website, to take a look at our email addresses, and let us help you transform yourself into the person that you were destined to be. So on the behalf of Rosalind Luda Aaron and Tanya Luda Gordon and myself, Andy C. Luda, I am so grateful for the time that you have taken to be with us. Rosalind, can you give us a quick parting word?
I am excited about your future, and you should be excited too.
And Tanya, a parting word.
Well, Rosalind said it all. As I always say, we have this awesome mandate on our life, and we want to be able to share with you so you can have a life of abundance and a just great opportunity to accomplish any goals and objectives you have for your life, because guess what? You can have it. All you have to do is to be willing to position yourself for success.
So listen, friends, this is but one of over 20 webinars that we're doing in a variety of areas that are designed to impact your life. Now, the next time we three come together, we're going to talk about senior care and parental care, because one of the things that we have in common is the maintenance and the care of our parents. And we want to kind of share some of those items and some of those experiences with you, because I am sure many of you may be in a situation, may be in a place where you're doing that as well. And so this is a unique opportunity to kind of talk about those things that we don't normally talk about. And so we'll be looking forward to sharing the contents of that conversation and those experiences with you as well. We have several other items that we're going to share with you. We have 21 laws and principles of leadership that we want to expand upon and make available to you. So please keep us close by, remain in our contact list so that we can continue to pour into your life. Until next time, we're here. This is Tanya Luda Gordon, Rosalind Luda Aaron, Andy C. Luda. We are life coaches, Luda Life Coaches. We look forward to seeing you real soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.